Welcome to Blooming Wildwood Homestead. Today we're going to be picking sour cherries and canning those in preparation for the winter. So come on along as we do some food preservation during this harvest season. We're now back in the kitchen and I've gone ahead and set out everything that we need for our cherry canning project. So right here we've got sterilized jars. They're clean and they're ready to go. And a few other items. Cherries don't take a lot. I have, actually this is a pasta pot, which I use a lot for canning. You can put things inside and then it's really super easy to drain. Today I'm going to take out that inside insert and we're just going to use it for making the syrup for the cherries, a colander to go ahead and wash them, measuring cup for the sugar, a funnel to help get things into the jars in a cleaner way, this little gadget which we'll use for grabbing the lids out of the hot water, and then a jar grabber, lids of course. This here is my electric canner, and one of the things that I like, actually there's a few things I like about the electric canner. One being that it's not taking up room on your stove while you're trying to work. So if you've got something else cooking on the stove, you can have this going and you've got your jars going ahead and processing while you're working on something else. The other thing that I really like is on the side, it has a spigot here, so you can go ahead and use this to empty out the water if you want to. If it's pretty heavy and you need that, you can position it closer to the sink if that's something that you want to use. But this has been definitely helpful. The other nice thing is that it holds more than 7 pints or 7 quarts. You can get quite a few jars in that container, and I will link to some of these items below if they have them at Amazon or something similar. And then of course we've got our bucket of cherries. This is almost 3/4 of the way full, and so basically this is going to be super easy. We're going to make a light sugar syrup. We're going to rinse these off. We'll pour them into the jars, cover them with the syrup, and then get ready to process. If you like canned fruit, one of the best things that you can do is can your own at home. One of the reasons for that is because you can control how much sugar goes into your fruit jar. When you buy it at the store, you have no control over that. You don't have any control if they use a ton of sugar. Maybe they use corn syrup for a sweetener. You don't have any say in what they do. So we are using sour cherries today, but I'm just gonna do a light syrup because that's enough to lightly flavor it. And if for some reason I felt like I needed more of a sweet taste when I went ahead and open up the jar, I can go ahead and add that later. But I really like to try and keep as little of sugar as possible. To make a light syrup, all you need is 1 cup of sugar, 3 cups of water. I'm gonna go ahead and double that batch here just because I think that I'll have enough cherries to warrant that. So since I'm doubling this batch, I'm going to go ahead and put in 2 cups of sugar, and we will do 6 cups of water. So we're just gonna go ahead and stir this. We want to dissolve the sugar and just bring it to a boil so that everything is good to go and ready to cover those cherries. While that syrup mixture is cooking, I went ahead and put these into a colander and rinse them off. I try to really pick clean so that there's not a lot of garbage in the cherries as I'm picking, but sometimes little things, you know, they slip through and you just have to set them off to the side. But for the most part, things are pretty clean. I just rinsed them. They're off a tree that has not been chemically sprayed or anything like that, so I'm not too worried about excess chemicals and things of that nature. All right, we're gonna go ahead and put the cherries into the jar. I do leave the pits in the cherries just to make sure that they kind of retain their shape. It keeps them from breaking down as much, and it's not that big of a deal to take the pits out when you go to eat them. You can use these either in just to eat plain for a breakfast, or if you wanted to pit them, you could put some over some type of meat product and cook it in a roast sort of a deal. A lot of things that you could do with this. So you can see here, I kind of overfilled this. I'm gonna take a couple of these out. I do need to put the syrup in there, and I don't wanna overfill my jar. I want it to come to about right here so that if anything bubbles up during the processing, it won't spill out. So that's what we're gonna do now. I'm gonna go ahead and get the rest of these cherries in the jar, and then we will cover them with the syrup. All of the cherries are now in the jars, and we're gonna go ahead and put the syrup over the top. I can't believe that I almost forgot to show you one of my absolute favorite canning tools. This scoop is amazing. It fits whatever it is that you're trying to do really, really well, and you can do a side pour, which is nice. Almost works like a funnel right here, and it has a little clip, so if you're in the middle of trying to do your jars, you can just hang it on the edge here and it will stay put. So definitely a tool I love, and I'm so glad that I invested in. While we are putting the syrup over this, I do have a little bit of water heating up in the canner, just because one of the things we want to avoid is having our jars break. So if we take jars that are full of hot syrup and we go and put them into a canner full of cold water, you're gonna end up with broken jars, and that would not be good. So by heating the water up just a little bit, that will help to eliminate that potential breakage. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and finish putting the syrup on the rest of these cherries, and we'll meet back here to clean and do lids. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and I counted 11 jars. I went ahead and put 11 lids inside a saucepan. I'm going to cover those with water, bring the water to a boil. That's going to loosen up that rubber seal so that it can go ahead and snugly fit and seal that jar. As these are heating up, I'm going to go ahead and clean off the tops of the jars so that I can make sure that there's no sticky syrup or any type of dirt or residue that could hinder the sealing process. I do use paper towels for this process, again, just so that I can kind of do a single use deal and make sure that everything's clean. And I'm gonna come back through and dry with the second paper towel. Okay, the caps came to a boil, and so I went ahead and emptied off that water. And now we're going to put them on the jars. Make sure to snug up that ring. We want to make sure that as the contents inside the jar heat up, you don't want anything leaking out and breaking that seal or going bad. Lids are so expensive these days, if you can find them at all, that it's really important to take all the steps you can to try and ensure that it seals the first time. All right, I'm gonna finish putting lids on here, and then I will put them into the canner. All 11 of the jars are in the canner, so we just have to wait for that to come to a boil, and then I will mark the timer for 20 minutes, let them boil for 20 minutes, and then I can go ahead and turn the canner off and remove them and let them cool. The cherries are now finished, so I'm gonna go ahead and take them out of the canner and put them on a towel or placemat to go ahead and cool. And here they are, absolutely beautiful. There's something very satisfying about being able to do your own canning. So thank you for joining me today. Let me know down in the comments if there is something else that you would like me to demonstrate canning. Or if you have something else that you do with your sour cherries, I would love to hear more. Thank you, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.